Today we are talking, again, I always get told time is a bit of a problem for most people. So I thought we could talk about some quick art projects for when you're busy, when time's tight, but you still want to create. Hi, Julie and Karen as well. Awesome. So that's sort of what I wanted to chat about today. And give you some ideas, because that sort of probably following on a bit from the cat drawing, it's something that when time is tight, I know it took me 2 hours to do it, so it probably could have taken everyone else maybe a little bit longer, but it's simple enough to have left out and just grab your pencil when you've got a chance, So that's the sort of thing we want to chat about today. Okay, so I know, we all have busy lives, of course. I don't know, I think in this time, everyone seems a lot busier than what they probably were in the 50s. I don't know what it is. We're a lot fast-paced, aren't we? So, so we all seem to be very busy. I don't know whether we all end up with more hobbies maybe when we're retired, but we just seem to be very, very busy. And again, Julie and Holly are joining us as well. All right, okay, I need to stop looking at that chat. Okay, so we get too busy, and sometimes our busy lives get in the way of making art, of course. So it could just be you might be working still, you could have errands, it could just be mental fatigue, But I know for me, even on my very busy days, I always feel like I need to create. I don't know why. I think it's something all of us creatives have. There's just that little niggling thing that you just feel like you need to still do something. And also some of those best creative breakthroughs can come when we allow ourselves to work quickly maybe and not be so perfect. So that's like quick art projects are kind of like little artistic snacks. So they keep your momentum going without the need for like a full sit down 2-hour session sort of thing. So they'll help you stay connected to your creativity, and also reduce the pressure to make things perfect. I learnt this. I did a workshop with another art teacher I went along to, and it was really good, and it sort of falls into this as well, so I'll talk to you about that a bit later as well. And also I think when we're creating and just playing, then that's when some of our best ideas can come up as well. Okay, so today I just want to share some practical ideas a few ways so you can still grow as an artist even when your time is very tight. Okay, so I think first though, we need to shift our mindset. So that's probably the biggest barrier, is the belief that short bursts of time aren't worth it. So we always tell ourselves, I need at least a few hours to set up, get in the zone, and to have it, to finish it. I think we feel like we have to finish it all the time, and that might be ideal if you can get a few hours, or maybe you've got all day and you can fully get in that zone, turn your music on, set it all up and get painting and do a whole art piece in one go. But most of the time that isn't ideal unless you're working as a full-time artist. But even as a full-time artist, there's so many distractions, because if you're working as a full-time artist, you know it's not all about painting. You've got to run a whole business, and you very rarely get much painting time. So I think instead of waiting for the perfect moment, today I want to sort of encourage you to use moments that you do have. So even 10 or 20 minutes of creative time can really help build momentum. It can keep you in the habit of creating. It can help you feel grounded and present in your creativity. And of course, it's going to improve your skills. Think of it like exercise. A 15-minute walk is better than no movement at all. So the same goes for your art practice. We all know the more we do it, the better we get. Okay, so you can let me know in the comments if you struggle to find time to do art, and whether that is more that you're telling yourself that you don't have time, or whether you seriously don't. But I do believe most of us do have time. We just, like I said, it's more of a mindset block that we think, I couldn't be bothered. I've only got 20 minutes by the time I set up and all the rest. But that, first of all, if you're working in pastels or a dry medium, you know that there is no setup time, especially if you've managed to get yourself a little studio area or just a corner of the room, then you know you can just go straight in and do something. But I agree, if you're very short on time, setting up for oils and some of the other painting mediums, yes, you do seem to need a little bit more time. But so if that's the case, these are some different things I'm going to run through that you can maybe do instead if you are short on time. Okay, so they're bite-sized projects. Okay, and they're low pressure as well, so no stress. And that's what we like. Okay, and by doing some of these, and if you can get into a regular habit of doing these, then that will then probably encourage you and inspire you to actually start working on your own pieces of art, and we can break it down. So I'll mention that as we go on. So I've got quite a few ideas here. What I'll do is this will get turned into a blog, and I will do a printable sheet of all these ideas. So if you think you need a refresher of some of these ideas, then you can download that later, but it'll be with the blog post. Okay, so number one, I won't number these, actually, I've got too many. So like a mini texture or value study. So use scrap pieces of paper to practice maybe first strokes, feather patterns, or scales, skin. So if you join me for any of my challenge weeks, we quite often break down and do little textures. So a little, just only small, they're like 10 centimeters square. You could go even smaller than that, but just rather than trying to do a whole animal, maybe just do some texture studies. Okay, and even you could have it set up. Fur, you don't even need a line art. Feathers, you probably don't. You probably can just freehand sketch something and just get started. So they're pretty quick to do. Even just basic value blocking, using one color maybe, and work out go from light to dark in one color, and you could work down and do different colors on the page. You don't need good paper for that. It's a good way to train your eye to see values as well, especially like with painted mediums like acrylic and that. Doing value block studies is quite easy, I suppose, because you can just pick one color and then dilute it and break it down. But with pastels, it can be a bit trickier. So you would need to look at all the pastels you've got and pick out, say, if you want to do it in yellow, pick out all your yellows and then try and line them up and maybe do a swatch, or even just line them up in the different values from like dark to light in all yellows maybe. Another good one, which we were doing actually in this workshop, is your warm to cool colors. So you could grab a handful of all different pastels, or if you've only got one set of pastels, maybe try lining them up from cool to warm. So they can be all different colors, but your yellows, of course, are warm, and then your blues are cold. So, and then your reds sort of in between, and you've got greens, of course, and figuring out say with your green, is it a cooler green, which is more towards those teals, or is it a warmer green, more towards the yellows, which is more olive? Okay, so that's a really good one to practice seeing your colors like that as well. And it's not something, with your pastels especially, you don't even have to put it on paper. You can just line them up and see how you go with that. And a good one with your values as well, to double check, once you've sort of think you've lined up from dark to light, take a photo of it on your phone and then turn it to black and white, and you'll be able to see if your values are going down from dark to light. Okay, because sometimes when it's all in color, it can be a little bit tricky to tell. But a good way, yeah, if you see it in black and white, you'll notice if one is darker than another and should be in a different position. So that's a really good exercise to practice. Okay, so like I said, that was sort of my first one, is value studies, and also mini texture studies. It's two things really, isn't it? All right, I might break that up. Okay, thanks, Odette. Odette said that's a great idea. I think it is too. I think it's a really good idea to, especially if color's such a huge subject. So especially if you struggle with color a bit, it's a good little exercise there. Okay, so color swatching as well. So you could pick maybe 3 pastels or pencils and experiment with blending or layering combinations. So you could keep a swatch, or even just swatching. There's another thing you could do if you've got a heap of pastels, and you'll know they get mixed up. You want them all lovely in the box forever, and you know exactly which number is what, but that very rarely happens. So you could just, sit down if you've got a spare 10 minutes and start doing some color swatches, write the number of the pastel and everything on the back before you pull the paper off, and then it doesn't matter if they do get mixed up because you've got your swatch guide you can always go back to. Or just do some experimenting with blending, figuring out different colors, because I just use, don't have it next to me, I have my tin of Carbothello, Stabilo Carbothello pencils, and even though if I bought the Derwents and the Pitts and all the others, I would have every color needed, I don't. I just limit myself to the Carbothellos. There's 60 colors in there, but I've learned over time what colors to blend with the pencils to create the color I'm after, rather than have that color right there. And I think that's better sometimes, because it helps us to improve our color knowledge, I suppose, rather than just having the exact color. Because sometimes I think we get stuck on that as well. We sometimes think, I can't do it because I don't have the exact color. But if you think about if you were an acrylic artist or an oil artist or watercolor, they're blending all the time. You could create a whole painting with just 3 colors, can't you, by blending? So I know it's easy. We all love to buy more and more pastels, but sometimes I think it's better to try and limit yourself as well. So anyway, don't let anyone hear me say not to buy pastels, because I'm usually encouraging everyone to buy more. Anyway, okay, so maybe get prepping and underpainting, or like, this is how I work with a bigger piece. So say if I'm doing a full painting, then I will break it down. Okay, so if you don't want to just do all this different stuff, like little creative things, but you want to actually get stuck into a painting, then you need to break that painting down. Hold on. Yes, I did. I was thinking of Greg when I said that. Don't let him hear I said don't buy any more pastels. Anyway, all right. So even if you don't go back to the painting for a few days, if you're doing bits of it, it is slowly getting done and you'll feel like you're more motivated. So I just break everything down into steps. So usually my first step is find my reference photo or go and take my reference photo, whatever my idea is. Then next step will be to get the sketch, the line art, the projector, the grid, however you want to get your sketch down onto your pastel paper or whatever canvas you're using. So that's the next step, getting the sketch down, ready to go. Then I always work from the back forward. So I would then do the background, and then I come through and usually do the fun bits. So that's usually the eyes and the nose and the mouth and all of that area if we're doing animals. And then to me, fur, it gets very monotonous. So I usually leave that till last. But even with fur, because I'm doing a dingo at the moment and I'm up to the first stage, I've kind of done the fun bits. Although I have his mouth to do, which I'll probably do that today. But the fur I then have to break down because it's quite a big piece. And it's like, oh my God, this is going to take forever. So I'll go, right, I'm just going to get the back leg done. And then next I'll go, all right, maybe I'll just get that shoulder done, or, that foot done, or then the face done, so I'm breaking that down as well. So it really is, I'm not sitting. If I actually sat for a few hours, I'd probably get a lot more done. But I tend to, on my bigger pieces, especially because I'm standing up at the easel to do those, I usually find about half hour in, I'm like, I need a break. So I'll go and wander off and do something and get sidetracked, and then I might come back and do another section. So even though if you are short on time, you can still complete full pieces of art, but breaking it down is the best way I found anyway. So, all right. Let me just duck over to Instagram. Oh, Odette's over there. Oh, okay. Sorry, Odette. I hope you're not struggling too much. All right. I've lost my notes now. Okay, so next we can rework an old piece. Maybe you've got an unfinished piece. I know I'm pretty good nowadays at finishing stuff because I find, like I'm looking over at my dingo there. I could be getting bored with it, but I won't take it off of that board. So, and I need to remove it to put another piece up. So I tell myself I have to finish it because I'm not allowed to take it off of there until it's finished. Okay, so I've run out of room, essentially, so I can't start another piece. So I'm usually pretty good at finishing things now. But there's a lot of us that do have unfinished pieces that we've had sitting around for ages. So maybe you could get one of those out and just do 20 minutes. Maybe there was something wrong with it and you could look at it with fresh eyes. You might need to adjust the value or sharpen some of the edges or add more layers to it. So that could be something if you've got any unfinished pieces sitting around. And then there's creative playtime. So just try mark making with a new tool, maybe smudge some charcoal around or do an abstract background just for fun. I like to do watercolors and inks as abstract backgrounds and then do my charcoal over the top, and experiment with, also mark making on those watercolors and inks with salt or with, Glad wrap scrunched up, different textures. So I do, where is it? I thought I had them. No. Oh, yep, right here. So this is say these, I'll move back a bit. So these are charcoal, but you can see the inks in the background. So sometimes we do creative play sessions every week in the premium tier of the Creative Barn where we all get together on Zoom. So sometimes if I don't feel like working on a piece, I'll just start mucking around with watercolor and salt and ink and just have these, just in the background. There's another one. I think that one someone else did actually at the art retreat. But, and then I can then later, when I feel like just doing a bit of charcoal, I can then just come in and do some charcoal on it. And charcoal, you know, is such a great medium because it's very, you know, you don't need much in the way of supplies and it's pretty quick. So creative play, like just do mark making on paper. It doesn't have to be good paper, unless I do that on some paper because I know I'm going to use them later. And I might think they look really ugly right now, but the minute you put other stuff on top, they look amazing. So, and we were doing this sort of stuff as well, just creative play at this workshop I did with Alina Chirilova. I'm not sure where she is from, but she came to Maryborough. She's got a exhibition on in Gattaca's and she did a workshop. And she's such an amazing teacher, so entertaining, lots of laughs, lots of fun. But gee, she knows her stuff. She's so knowledgeable. She does pastels. I think she does watercolor and oils. But the workshop, it was like creative play as well. So she was just getting us in pastel. This is just black card from Officeworks. You know, the big sheets of it. So you can't build up layers on here, but we could play and we're mucking around with colors and shadows, all that sort of stuff, just on this cheap paper. We're all trying to draw a horse out of our brain. And then we also just did these studies on doing warm and cool. She was like talking about warm and cool colors. So this literally probably only took half an hour, I reckon. And it's very simple, and it's just done on matte board. So scrap matte board. You can go to any framer and they've usually got heaps of scrap matte board. And the beauty of matte board is it can be acid free, so it's a good one to keep and it's nice and firm. But all just in pastel sticks, just, you know, she just had a heap of photos of trees and landscape. Landscape, I feel, is the quickest thing to do, especially in pastel, because you don't focus on the detail. You can eventually, but for this sort of stuff, for just creative play, you could go out with your camera, wander around, go to your local park, just take photos of trees. And then she just had a heap of those, handed them all out, and we just used that as our, you know, a bit of a reference, because unlike, say, doing a human portrait or animal where you've got to get everything exactly right for it to look real, trees you can just make up yourself, can't you? So that was a lot of fun doing that, and it was really cool doing black paper. I think the outcome turned out really good with the black. So yeah, so that's one. And like I said, I think that only took about half an hour. You could work smaller than that as well. I just went with what size the paper was. But yeah, Elena Charilova. Like I said, I'm not sure where she's from, but it's well worth going to her workshop if you get a chance. But yeah, creative play like that is so fun, and that can then spark more ideas as well. So the other thing with that that was very tricky not to blend. So there's no blending in that, because, you know, quite often I would blend the sky and all the rest, and we weren't allowed. So you had to, or you were allowed, but she was trying to teach her technique where it's just the pastel sticks and not to blend. So, and of course, especially with pastels, I don't know if you can, that's very bright, isn't it? Okay, because it has no blending. So pastel sticks, I should move back a bit, that might help. Pastel sticks, the minute you start blending with pastel sticks, you sometimes ruin the luminosity, I suppose, the brightness of them. So if you want your pastels to be really bright, try not to blend, but it is very hard. Oh, okay. Beck said she runs workshops in Brisbane, so she's probably from there. Yeah, that could be where she is then. Just looking at my hair, it's a bit fluffy. Yeah, so if you're around Brisbane then and you get a chance, I would highly recommend going along. She is so knowledgeable. She's been a practicing artist her whole life, and just knows her stuff, especially about color. Amazing. So, all right, where are we at? Okay, so creative playtime. All right, so 10-minute sketches. That's the next one. Yes, she is Russian. Russian or German? Russian, she must be. Yeah, she has an accent. So, but she's lived here, for a long 15 years, I think she said. Okay, so next is 10-minute sketches. So just grab a sketchbook and set a timer. So just sketch anything around you. Could be a cup of tea, could be a plant on your windowsill maybe. So just observation drawings. So whatever you've got sitting around you at the time. Just have a sketchbook wherever you go, I suppose. And if you just want to just a cheap one, doesn't have to be an expensive sketchbook, and maybe you just give yourself 10 minutes every day to do a little sketch. You could get into like a routine, like brushing your teeth, maybe a certain time every day you do that. Another one is monochrome minis. So choose one pastel or pencil and create a tiny drawing just using that one color. So, it could be a feather, a tree, a face, anything simple that lets you just focus on the value and shape. So rather than just one pastel, we did, there was a competition here. It was all to do with yellow. So I do a cow's head all in yellow. So that was a good one to, figure out your darks, again, your values. So your darks and lights, just all your yellows. But you could do it all with reds or any color you want. Okay, so that's another fun one to do. And if you keep them small as well, they're not going to take up as much time, because this is all about trying to think of small things we can do to still be really creative, still keep us moving forward and getting us better and learning, but if you're time poor. So and then there's thumbnail compositions, of course, so you can plan out any future artworks maybe, or just play around with different compositions. So just if you just draw up little 2-inch squares all over maybe a bit of printer paper or a sketchbook, and you can just block in light and dark shapes with pencil, pen, even a Nico pen, and just sort of try different compositions that look good to the eye. When you just put dark shapes on a bit of paper, it sometimes it looks good, sometimes it looks weird. So the ones when you do it and it looks good, then they're the compositions that usually will work. So this is where we're sort of thinking of rule of thirds, that golden mean, all that sort of stuff. So hi, Marianne. Okay, so found object drawings. So you could just use what's around you. So leaves, shells, fabrics. I have up on my desk up here. Oh, there's something I found. But up here I've got a whole jar of shells, another jar full of like different bits of like tree, like rocks, Banksia pods. I've got another one full of feathers, just things you find. Start collecting them. Things that interest you, things you're wandering around, you see it on the ground, you think, oh, I really love the shape of maybe that dried leaf, or the way that a bit of driftwood or a shell, all different things. Just start collecting them, and then you've got a whole heap of things you could use to do just a quick contour, or you could do a nice detailed sketch of it, but you could use it as a blind contour drawing, so you could hold it over here or put it on your table and don't look at your drawing pad, so do a blind contour. If you've got all these objects like that, there's plenty of things you can do. And also, if they're natural elements like that, it can really spark inspiration, especially if you're a wildlife and nature artist kind of thing. So if you're more into more modern things, I suppose, contemporary stuff, then maybe you want to collect other things. I don't know what, but you could, yeah, even just different pens. I've seen that one lady does the knives and forks. There's all different things interest different people. So, hi, Evelyn. Kim said she likes drawing textures. Yeah, that's a really good idea, actually, Kim. I did mention earlier that you could do little texture studies of animals, but yeah, you could do texture studies of any object. Yeah, it doesn't have to be animals. You could, I really enjoy doing shells and the Banksia pods, things like that. Just trying to get that texture and detail. Yeah. So that's another one. So found objects. So start collecting. Where we can be hoarders, okay, but do it nicely. Have them in jars or something so they look good on your shelf. All right. Word prompts. So what I did for this was something I thought would be a good idea. I haven't got there yet, but I went into ChatGPT and asked it to print out, to write me out an animal sketch prompt list. So I said I wanted 50 mammals, 20 reptiles, 20 marine, what else? I think I even said insects. I just told all these different things. So I got a heap, and now I'm going to cut those out and put them in a jar. And then what I figured I could do was when I felt like I wanted to just do a sketch of something, but your brain has no idea what, you can just stick your hand in the jar, pull out one, and whatever it says, like it might be a zebra, it might be a toad, who knows, and that's what I've got to sketch. And then you could then just go straight to, say, Pixabay. You can either sketch it out of your head and try that if you think you can just freehand it with no reference. I kind of need a reference, so I would go, right, okay, I've pulled out a zebra, so I could go straight to Pixabay, type in zebra, and just the first one that comes up is the one I've got to sketch. I'm not going to sit and go through and find the best zebra image. I'm just going to go with the first one that comes up. Or you could just type in Google zebra under images and just try sketching the very first image, because otherwise you'll get stuck going through trying to find a really good image. But the idea isn't how good that reference is. The idea is just to improve your drawing skills and have that word prompt just to help you along. So, and that's why I use ChatGPT to help me with that. So now I've just got to cut them all up. So that was another one. It could be, it doesn't, I did animals. You could even do it actually. You could do emotions, so calm, like you could try and do things like that. Sad, you can, there's all different things. You could just even do it as an object like a cup or a fork or things like that, or it could even be colors. So it doesn't have to be animals. And you could also do it as just like a doodle type of thing. You don't have to do it as a finished drawing. There's all different things you can do. That's just the prompt to get you thinking and get you started. Okay, you could try and do really cute little, what are those? They're the little Japanese. Are they? They're not called kawaii. No, I don't know. They're those really cute little sketches. You could try doing that even. Kim, you like drawing the gum tree bark. That's cool. Yeah, very cool. All right, so that's word prompts. I've got so many things around me here. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to show. Collage play. So you could cut up failed sketches, old drawings you've done, things you don't like anymore, leftover prints. You can rearrange them into a new mini artwork. So you could add text, you could add maybe some washi tape, you can add some watercolor over it, all different things. And I just wanted to share, this is a Picasso collage. So even some of the great masters do collage, you know, and it's just, yeah, he's added some newsprint and that. You've got to be careful with newsprint because it could be copyright. Okay. But so just be careful if you're getting things out of magazines and stuff. Maybe better with your old artwork. But just saying, you could turn some old sketches, old prints, yeah, things like that, into a whole new piece of art if you like collage. And then, of course, some of us have those jelly print plates, so you could incorporate that as well. And then, of course, there's gesture drawing, which we do every week inside the premium tier of the Creative Barn. So just, you know, sketchbook, this thing's full of you're just trying to create, trying to figure out, like, get those basic shapes of the animal done. So a really good website is called lineofaction.com, which is what we use. And it's set up, gesture drawing is like life drawing. So you see the image for 30 seconds and then it changes to another image. So you've only got 30 seconds to do some of these. And then as it goes on, you get a bit longer and a bit longer. Okay, so I might just type that in lineofaction.com. .com. I've just put that in the chat. So hopefully that takes you to the right website. But that's what it's called anyway, Line of Action. And that's a great one. Gesture drawing is brilliant. And a lot of my students who come along every week and do that, we only do half an hour a week. If you want to do get better and better at drawing freehand, then you should be doing that every day. But we only do it once a week. But a lot of students are already, they feel like it's improved. I know myself, it's definitely improving my drawings, my freehand drawing skills by doing that. But that's another one. You only have to do, we just do 20 minutes. So it's something that you don't have to think too hard about. You know, there's no preparation or anything. All you need is a sketchbook or just some scrap paper. I used to do it when I printed things out and I didn't need any more on the back of an old printout. I would do it on there, just a charcoal stick. You could use anything. I just find charcoal's better for me because it keeps me a bit looser with it. Rather than if I'm using a pencil, I always feel like I've, you know, got to get the details, which gesture drawing is not about the details at all. You're just trying to get those lines and the gestural movement, all that sort of stuff. So okay, so that's my list of all different ideas. So so I think the big part of being successful is to have it easy to begin, like, so that it's not hard. So, you know, you could keep a very simple art kit ready to grab and go, especially if you want to go outside and do a 10-15 minute sketch. I just have a little pencil case like this that has it's got a sketchbook, it's got a few colored things, it's got some pencils, you know, and I know that's just kept like that all the time. And then I know if I'm going somewhere and I think I might do some sketching, I can just grab that. It's even got a little teeny tiny watercolor pan in it. It's super cute. So that's just handy. So You know, it's easy, it's there. So again, it's easy to begin. You could make sure you've got a corner of your home that's your little art space, or just a little desk and a chair, so it's set up. You're good to go. And have this running list of ideas. So like I said, I'll put this in the blog and print it, have it so it's a printable. So there's a heap of ideas, so you don't have to waste time trying to figure out what you're going to do, because I think the biggest hurdle is knowing exactly what we're doing. Okay, when you're very short on time, you can just get straight in there and do it. Okay, and remember, the goal isn't to finish some masterpiece, it's just to stay in the habit of creating. Because I know, if I've done it myself, I've gone a year or more without doing anything, because I feel like the more you stop, like if you find, oh, I don't have time, you get out of the habit, and I don't know, it just feels harder to get back into it. So if you're constantly, even though you're not going to finish some big masterpiece, if you're constantly doing little bits and pieces, you will still see improvement. And then it's a lot easier when you do, whether you go on holidays or you retire, or you do end up with a lot more time, you can really get going. All right, I'm just reading comments. I'm just going to check back over here. All right. Sorry, I did. I'm not sure what you meant there. I say something improving, not yet. Oh, your drawing skill. Right, okay. I did. Does the gesture drawing with me every week. You will see it. Like I said, it's a lot slower because we're only doing it once a week. But yeah. All right. So, and then, of course, progress, not perfection. So when you let go of that pressure to finish something amazing every time, we always want perfection, don't we? So if you can get rid of that, you'll actually enjoy the process more, because we're doing it for the process, aren't we, as artists? Trying to get into that creative zone where time flies and we're just having fun and we're playing. That's what we all want to get into. And I think the only way to get into that zone is to get rid of any pressure and just do it for the fun and the process. And, just remember, you are building skills, you're developing habits, and you're just, keeping yourself in that creative space. So even if you might only be able to do one thumbnail sketch a week, or swatch some new colors, or do a little bit of sketching, they're all ways to get started and get into it. Okay, so don't be hard on yourself if you don't seem to get a lot done. But I think if you're really struggling, at least try and pick one thing to start doing every week, and even if it's only once a week. So just try and get it into your routine. So maybe block out a little bit of free time this week. That could be your goal for the week. Just block out 20 minutes or half an hour in a whole week. I'm sure everyone can find half an hour in a whole week. So, and choose one task. Like I said, I'll get this list done. And then maybe set a timer. And don't worry, but don't stress. Just let it be imperfect. Just have fun with it. And, I think you'll enjoy it, and you'll also get more motivated and inspired to keep going with your art. Okay. So if you're in the creative barn, which I know a lot of you guys on here, there's quite a few that are, you've probably also noticed that most of the lessons are broken into manageable steps, and that is intentional. So you can just do one section at a time and still feel like you're moving forward, which is what I said earlier. That's how I work. So that's how I've set the membership up as well. So each tutorial is broken usually into about 6 or 7 steps, and I try not to make each one over an hour long. Okay, because I know that's how I work. So if you have it all day, then you can just keep moving forward and keep watching another video. But especially for those of you in the membership who are struggling to find that time, maybe go through. There's over 200 lessons in there now. Crazy, but pick one you want to do and then just do a video, like a step from it, every time you get a chance. And by the end of, it could be a few weeks, but you'll have a finished painting. So if you're not in the membership, the premium tier doors have closed again. They were open last week, but the essentials tier, which is access to all over 200 tutorials, that is, those doors are open, and there is a 7-day free trial running at the moment. And I did put the link to that in this chat up the top, but make sure you click on the one. I did put the premium tier is open, which is wrong. That closed. All right. Okay, so that is pretty much it. What is the time? Yep, we're on time. So just remember, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Okay, you don't need a whole weekend retreat or the house to be empty all day for you to actually create something. So you just need a few minutes, but you need the willingness to show up, okay, and do it and take that pressure off yourself. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're just playing. Okay, so just try and carve out that bit of time. Okay, because every time, just always remember, every mark you make, you're improving. Okay, you're learning something all the time. Okay, guys, so thank you for joining me. And I hope this has inspired some of you, if you are a bit time poor, to be able to figure out some ways you can do some creativity, some art. And I know some of you guys don't have a problem with that, which is awesome. But, it is fairly common to have time problems. So anyway, that's it for this week. And I will see you all next week. Same time, same channel. And hopefully you get something done this week. All right, I'll see you all later. Bye.